Hello, everyone. Welcome aboard to the Productivity Express, where our destination is getting things done without losing your mind. I am Joanna, your friendly host and your conductor for today's ride. Who are we? I am part of Mitra, a cozy and a safe space founded by our mentor and counseling psychologist Ketaki Kadam Kelapure, where we've been helping people entangle their thoughts, decode emotions, and build healthier habits since 2019. We work with children, teens, adults, pretty much anyone who wants more clarity, direction, and emotional ease. Through counseling, career guidance, workshops, well-being tools, we try make mental health feel like a warm cup of chai on a confusing day. And today, you and I are hopping on the train from procrastination to our final destination, productivity. So buckle up. This train may be wobbly, but it will move forward. Our journey today, we will be mainly looking at 5 stations, or which we can understand as why we procrastinate and the emotions behind procrastination, how to get this train moving, and how we can transform our procrastination into productivity and move forward on this track. Now, for a small activity, we will be looking into our 5 favorite ways of procrastinating. It could be scrolling on Instagram or going through Facebook or reading, snacking. So it could be many of those activities. So maybe we can discuss with your friends, or you can type in the comments below what are your favorite ways of procrastinating. So now first let's understand the psychology or the thought process behind procrastinating. First up is, why does our brain delay? First of all, we need to understand that in our mind, there is the emotional brain, which is the limbic system, which contains a few parts of the brain. Whereas there's also, on the other hand, the second part, which is the logical brain, which is the prefrontal cortex. Now, the emotional brain tells us that let's chill, let's be safe, let's not feel anything uncomfortable. Whereas on the other hand, our logical brain tells us that we need to get our work done. And so that is why when we have a task that feels boring or uncertain or overwhelming, we want to just take a pause. And that is the emotional brain taking control or pulling the emergency brake. And that is why you find yourself doing other things than what you should be actually doing. Next is an interesting concept called as temporal discounting. So our brain plays this sneaky trick where we value the things that we have right now, or the rewards that we want right now, than our long-term achievements or goals that we want. And as we saw before, our emotional brain, or the limbic system, likes to be comfortable. And so that is why we seek short-term rewards rather than putting in the work to achieve those long-term achievements. And this leads us to seek dopamine or gratification over the satisfaction for a long-term reward. And that is why you would probably be choosing to watch something like one episode over one chapter of studying as well. And this is again called as temporal discounting. And this is why our brain wants to prioritize what is in front of us and minimize the value of the future goals. Next is called the anxiety procrastination loop or cycle. Now, the deeper truth is that we don't want to avoid the task. Rather, we want to avoid the way this task makes us feel. It could be failure, fear of failure, or boredom, or confusion, or even pressure as well. That is what anxiety procrastination loop is about. It is a strange feeling that we have that we use to help us not go through this feeling of anxiety. And so, what procrastination does is help us regulate our emotions in a way to actually rationalize or cover up the anxiety. So, our mind tells us that I'm feeling nervous, I'm feeling scared of, let's say, the upcoming exams or anything that we have lined up. And so, what we do is instead of focusing on the stress and the anxiety that we come from studying or any other task that we need to do, we will do anything else and cover up those things. And next is procrastination is not the same as laziness. So now we also need to understand that laziness is where we do not do the task at all and just want to relax all the time. Whereas on the other hand, procrastination is where we actually know that we need to get the things done, but because of the emotions and the thoughts that we are going through, we do not do it at the current moment and we focus on other things as well. And so now, from understanding these technical hiccups that we have discovered, let's now learn on how we can fix our train's issues and travel safely ahead. All right, passengers, now we're pulling up to the realest stations on this entire route called as the Hidden Emotions platform. Now, because procrastination isn't just about avoiding tasks altogether, it is actually avoiding the emotions that are attached to these tasks. So let's slow down the train a little here. Brace yourselves and your hearts because this is where things get a bit tender and also sensitive. Now, first of all, we'll do a small activity for us to really reflect and understand on what was a recent moment that you had when you procrastinated. So, right before you delay your task, what emotion was peeking over your shoulder? Was it fear, doubt, shame, or maybe boredom? Maybe we can give ourselves 5 seconds. Give yourselves 5 seconds to recall it. There will be no judgment, just awareness. Based on what you may have noticed, let's keep them in mind. And while we discuss a few of the emotions that most commonly affect everyone, let's also remember that you're not alone on this journey. And this is a roller coaster ride, but let's all uncover them together so that we can also work on the upcoming or a new hiccup that will come to reach our destination, which is productivity. So let's get moving and understand our first emotion, which is the fear of failure or fear of rejection. Now, one of the biggest reasons why uh, the train stalls is because of fear. Now, as you can see, that there is different types of fear. There could be fear of trying and then failing, or trying and disappointing others, or fear of confirming what may be our deepest insecurities or what our biggest fears may be. These are the fears that make us not want to do more than actually not trying at all. And so that is when your brain whispers that maybe if I don't start, I can't really fail. Maybe if I don't do anything, I won't have to worry. But what if I try and then I still fail? What if my ideas aren't still good enough? That is actually fear that is pulling the brakes. And the emotional brain believes it's protecting you. It's saying, let's avoid the pain, the embarrassment, and the risk or the possibility of being judged. It's safer to not even try than to risk failing, which leads us to delay tasks indefinitely or never even try ever again. But in reality, avoiding the discomfort only makes the fear louder. And this makes you procrastinate even more, making you stuck that you can't achieve what you want. Next up is perfectionism. Perfectionism says, I'll start when I'm ready. So the next emotion which you can feel is wanting to do everything perfectly, which is, of course, perfectionism. On the outside, it looks very shiny and magnificent and very pretty. But actually, on the inside, it is anxiety that is just dressed up in a nice way. Perfectionism tells you that you need to do everything at the perfect time, at the perfect condition, in the perfect environment, and that you need to be in the perfect mindset and moment. But actually, perfection is a train that will never arrive. While you're waiting for the perfect moment, it can turn into hours, which turn into days, which turn into weeks, and you are just stuck at the starting line, just waiting to start. So, perfectionists aren't lazy. They are actually scared of not doing the things that they want to do in the perfect way or in the best way. Next is learned helplessness or low self of worth. Now, this is almost like a silent one. It's called self worth. Sometimes deep seated beliefs or deep rooted beliefs make us question and doubt our own capabilities, which then lead to procrastination. If we believe unconsciously or consciously that we're not smart enough, that we're not capable enough, or that we're not deserving of success, we might avoid tasks that could prove that these beliefs are true. And so sometimes you don't start because of a small, soft voice that speaks. Even if I try, it won't work out. Or maybe I'm not capable enough to try or complete anything. And so these beliefs come from old experiences or from childhood experiences that show that our effort will not equal to reward. So our brain goes, why did we even bother? Why even try? And that is learned helplessness. As you can see on the screen, there is a story of an elephant that is tied to a wooden stick that baby elephant learned from when he was a child that he will not be able to come out of this chain. Even though, as you know, elephants are strong and they can break that iron chain. But because that elephant learned that, oh, I will never be able to break the chain, so he never tries to actually break from that chain. And this is learned helplessness, where someone believes that they are not capable and that they will never be able to try and come out of that shell. So, where past failures convince us that even if we put in the effort, it will be futile, it will be useless. And so, our brain, our system concludes that effort will not have any result, and that is why it leads us to not take any action. Next is overload and burnout. Now, sometimes procrastination isn't just because we want to emotionally or physically avoid doing a certain task. It might be just your mind telling that I'm exhausted. I cannot do anything. And so our body also then says, I'm tired. I cannot even move. And this is also as a result in our fast paced life, especially in the modern era, where feeling overwhelmed is honestly very common. And we might have a lot of tasks in our day to day life where there is only very little time that we have to ourselves, where we can actually recover and heal ourselves. And so this leads us to being emotionally and also mentally exhausted. That leads to burnout, where burnout can actually mimic or imitate procrastination, where you, on the outside, it looks like you're being lazy, but on the inside, your engine is overheated and you're running on the last petrol that is left inside your engine. And so your brain is trying to keep you from crashing. And so it might be that your brain is using procrastination as a cry for rest and for better prioritization of your tasks so that you can actually heal and recover yourself. So, what you can take away from this is that when you catch yourself delaying or you're procrastinating, ask what emotion or what thought am I feeling right now? What emotion am I feeling right now? What thought is going in my mind? so that when we face this emotion, we can actually regain control of ourselves and also be able to drive our engine to the location, which is, of course, productivity. Next, now that we have checked our emotional luggage and the thought processes, and we have understood why we procrastinate, let's now move on to moving this train forward. Now we're going to do a small activity where it is called a 5 minute rule, where for 5 minutes we'll do a small exercise where if you have any pen or paper, you can actually get them, and not any phone or any electric device, but a pen and paper. So let's get them and make a list of the things that you have delayed so far, or that you have any pending tasks. For example, it could be applying for jobs, or it could that you need to wash my clothes or drink water. So all these things you can write down on this piece of paper for 5 minutes, so that you can also write them down and also keep them for the upcoming later discussions that we will be having. Yes, have we all completed the small activity? So if we are all done, we can keep this list and you can also go back and check and see what else do I have left to get done. So this is a small activity called as a 5 minute rule where I did this. I helped you guys do this for 5 minutes, but you can use this activity during any time of the day. It could be at the start of the day or at the end of each day as you plan for the next day. And you can also use this at any time whenever you feel you need to jot down certain tasks that you have left or that you need to get done. So, the reason why I introduced you guys to this 5 minute rule activity is because it is one of our techniques that I will be showing you in the next slide, which we saw as the 5 minute rule. So, these are some of the tips and tricks that I will be sharing. So, the first one we uncovered, which is the 5 minute rule. So, which you can do any certain task that you have for 5 minutes. So any task that you have, it is not for 5 hours or until completion, but it is that you spend just 5 minutes to do these certain tasks that you have left. For example, it could be your assignment or even going for a walk or reading for 5 minutes or practicing your instruments or music, so on. Just 5 minutes. So if you give yourselves just 5 minutes, that will help you so much than just feeling worried or anxious about spending the whole time until you complete a certain task. It could be 5 minutes a day or 5 minutes for an hour. Whatever time you have, you can spend just 5 minutes to do that task. And that is so much helpful than expecting or waiting for the motivation to come. Because motivation is unreliable, first of all. It is really based on your mood that motivation really comes. It comes whenever you feel like you want that life feels good, or when you feel like that perfect moment will come. That's when motivation comes. Actually, more than motivation, what matters is action. Taking the action is so much better, and it is going to stick around much more than waiting for motivation to come. And so, first of all, as I mentioned before, action creates motivation, not the other way around, but action creates motivation. So that is why I just spend 5 minutes a day to tell yourself, your mind, that just for 5 minutes, I will do this task. And the truth is, your brain resists starting, so not doing. So when we start, it helps so much more. And you're not even 5 minutes. I will tell you, you can go for hours and hours to actually do a certain task. And so that is for the 5 minute rule. Next up, we'll be looking is micro goals. So the next technique is where we use these small goals that we have to shrink our emotional resistance. So when we have a certain task, let's say you want to write a report, but instead of saying, oh, I have to write a report, say I will write one paragraph. Instead of saying I need to clean the house, say I will clean my table or I will clean my bed. So these small wins help us build or end up into a bigger progress where we can break down the big mountain that we have in front of us into smaller pebbles or smaller rocks. And so breaking these tasks, that big chunks of tasks into smaller tasks, help our mind think that it is so much easier and that it is that I can do this task that I need to do, so that these small wins or these small achievements that we have, it will help us build confidence and also reduce the difficulty of the task that we have. And the next one is environmental design or environmental cues that we have. How our environment is set up matters so much more than you can actually think. So a lot of people think, oh, I like to work in like an organized mess. But let's be honest that our brain gets more confused and distracted and disorganized when we see mess. And so it gets more distracted from focusing on one thing. And so that is why we spiral and we get lost and we focus on other things. That is why our environment should be designed and placed in such a way so that it can help our mind be led back to the tracks. So it could be, for example, a clean desk, a specific chair, or a small routine that or ritual that we have. For example, making the light or turning on the light, or for example, making tea or coffee, or lighting a candle for those who like incense or smell. These are certain cues that we have in our environment that can tell our brains that we are now getting started, that we're going to turn on our engine and start working now. As we discussed before, perfectionism tells us that we will not achieve anything unless we achieve our goal, and we have to make everything perfect. And that is why we need to also remember that yes, we need to do well, and yes, we do need to achieve our goal, but achieving or striving for perfection or just the end goal makes you feel empty. And so that's why let's celebrate our small wins that we have used from our previous techniques that I mentioned. Instead of just waiting for the perfect outcome, let's also acknowledge the progress and reward ourselves for what we have done so far. And so this gives you a positive reinforcement or helps you encourage your neural pathways that will help you then have a productive behavior ahead. For example, it could also be taking a small break or eating your favorite snack or even scrolling through the internet for a few minutes without any guilt, by the way. Those around you might only see the results that you produce. However, your hard work and the effort that you put in matters so much more in this process. So let's not be hard on ourselves. Let's be happy and proud that we have made progress. And that can also help us see the results and the goals that we want to achieve in the end. Now that we have seen a few tips and tricks, let's move forward to our next goal, which is traveling from procrastination to productivity. So now that we have started our train journey and we are almost reaching our station, which is productivity, let's now try and help ourselves stay on track rather than just starting the train. Now, the first few mindsets that we can help ourselves stay on track is, first of all, we will remember is mindful delay versus avoidance. So now, first of all, we need to also remember that sometimes taking a delay is not procrastination. It's sometimes our body and our mind needs a mental pause or a rest. The key distinction between mindfully delaying versus avoiding a certain task is that we are consciously and also mindfully taking a rest. Now, when you take consciously, you take a rest, you are giving yourself and your mind a break so that you will tell your brain and your mind that I need to come back to this task and also complete the task that is in front of me, rather than when you actually avoid and unconsciously you say, oh, it's too late, or there's still time, or it's not time yet, so I'm just going to relax and just chill. And that is when you are consciously or unconsciously you're slipping away from completing that task. Mindful delay, on the other hand, says, I'm going to rest for 20 minutes or half an hour, and then I will return back to completing this task. So, this is when you take rest while being still in control. Whereas avoidance is where you give up the reins of the control and you say, I'm not going to do this task anymore. Next is creative procrastination. So now let's keep in mind that not all procrastination is bad. Sometimes you could just use this moment to relax or actually take a break from diverting your mind to do something that is more creative and actually problem solving. Some pauses can help us actually fuel creativity and help us restore our minds. For example, it could be taking a walk or doodling, showering. These moments actually help our subconscious problems and also mind to restore ourselves and also process the problems that we might have ahead. For example, if you're stuck on a task and we need to take a break because it's not really working out, that's when we can take a pause. We can actually step away to do something completely different so that that can help our pause that we take to be intentional So at the same time, also restore ourselves so that we can do the task that we have left in a better manner. So if we don't do it in an intentional or mindful manner, of course, it will just become again avoidance. So the difference between traditional procrastination is that this pause is intentional and also purposeful and also time limited. So that helps us stay on track and also gives us a new perspective to do our current task in a better manner. Next up is body doubling and accountability. So now body doubling is when we have another person, even if they may be working on another task or on something totally different, that can help us motivate ourselves to do our current task in a better manner. So that is body doubling. Working next to someone or even on a video call, when you work with someone, it somehow helps you push yourself to get the task that you have done in a faster manner. That is because our brains love the shared effort and they also love being witnessed. Having someone next to you helps you push yourself to do your task in a better manner. The other one that I mentioned is also accountability partner. So this is someone who externally helps you check in about your progress. So it can be your friend, your family, someone that can help you give you external motivation to stay on track and continue to do your work and complete your work. So this helps tap into a natural desire to meet commitments and also seek external gratification, external motivation, and rewards through others as well. Now, next, we will be looking into a few helpful tools that can help you in this journey to help you also overcome the procrastination problems that you might be having. So, the first one is called Pomodoro technique. Now, as you can see in the screen, Pomodoro in Italian or Latin means tomato. So, as you can see on the screen, there's a tomato on the top left that is called Pomodoro technique, which was actually developed by a psychologist who realized that when we put certain tasks that we have into smaller time units, that can help us focus on the task in a better manner. And in between or after we do the certain task for a few minutes, and if we give ourselves break as well, that will also help us focus on the task in a better manner as well. And we look forward to the rest or the reward that we want. So in this Pomodoro technique is that for 25 minutes, you will focus and do your task for just 25 minutes. And then you give yourselves 5 minutes of break. So in total, that is 30 minutes. And if you do this for 4 times, so 25 minutes of focus and 5 minutes of break for 4 times, that will become a longer period of time. So in total, it can be for 2 hours. If you do this task, then you can give yourself a longer break. And then you can also feel happier that you've actually completed a certain task in that time frame as well. Now, next is time blocking. So a lot of people, they will put their schedules in their calendars, especially a lot of us use Google Calendars, if you may know. We all use this in our daily life to help us focus and also visualize what tasks we have during the day so that we can focus on the things that are important and also see how is our schedule like. We can also focus on the tasks that we have. At the same time, prioritize our rest as well. Next is called as prioritization, where we put the certain tasks that we have so that we can also focus on the things that are important and also necessary for us to do. So these tools will also help you guide you in your further tasks as well. Next, we will also see, which is related to this prioritization technique, which is called as Eisenhower matrix. So now, as we did the 5 minutes, we used the 5 minutes to actually note down all our tasks, right? So based on any of the random tasks that you have put in the list, it could be from the smallest to the biggest tasks we have. Let's go back and check all the tasks we have. And now what we're going to do is actually use that list that we have made to prioritize and focus on the tasks that are important. So now, as you can see on the screen, there is first on the top, we can see there is the urgency list. And then on the left or the right, sorry, the left side, we can see there is the importance. So what does it mean? Urgent means that you need to get the task done right away. It's of urgent need and you need to get it done right away. On the other hand, importance means that it is, of course, the value is very much needed. It could be that it's very important. For example, you need to give it to someone, so on. So now, based on the list that we have, the first part is called as urgent and important. This is the task that you need to do right away, that you need to do first and foremost. It is very critical and this needs immediate attention. So let's go through the list that we have made and let's check what are the things that you need to do as soon as possible, that you need to do, and it is very important as well. So now that you may have found maybe one or two important and very critical tasks that you need to do right away and immediately, let's move on to the next one where we will see that there is a task that is important but not urgent. So let's go through the list again and find what are the tasks that is important but not urgent. So these are the tasks that you will schedule. So these are probably things that you can do in the long term, but they can be scheduled or they can be broken down into micro goals or into smaller pieces where you could also put them in your calendar to do them later on. So let's go through the list again and find what are the things that I can schedule, that it's not urgent, but I need to do them soon. You may have found a few more from the list that you have made. Now let's move on to the next part, which is finding what are the tasks that is urgent but not important. So these are the tasks that is needed to be done soon, and it is quick, it is very urgent, but it is not important. So these tasks, let me keep this in your mind, that these tasks can be passed on or they can be delegated to another person if you cannot do it on your own. Now, you may have found a few more on that list that you can actually delegate and pass it on to someone else. Now, let's see the last part, which is neither important nor urgent. So, these are random tasks that actually waste your time. So, maybe you can put a certain symbol like an X mark, or for example, you could even put it like it's not important. So, and it's not urgent either. So, you can put them for another time. So now that we have gone through this list, you can also make this on a daily basis or a weekly basis to help you have a clearer mind or a clearer view on what are the things that you need to do and what are the things that you need to get done. So it can also help you keep your energy. So not drain your energy, but also keep your energy so that it can also help you in your further tasks as well. This is a great tool that you can use, especially for those who work in a company or an environment where you actually work with other people, so a team as well. So this can also help you use this matrix to help you in your further tasks as well. Now that we have come to our last stop, which is the heart of our journey, because it has been a long time since we have reached productivity, right? So now it's how are we going to fix our mindset and our thought processes so that we can move forward with purpose. First, we will be seeing the reason why we need to move forward with purpose. First of all, it is to connect your values and your beliefs. Why exactly is it that I am doing this task? So, when you connect your task with your values, your energy shifts. So now work doesn't become a burden, but rather it starts to be driven with purpose. It starts being moving forward with a goal in mind so that it can help you find your why, so that it can also help you drive your engine forward. Because without this why and the reason why you're doing this task or this work, it will only make you feel like your train is only stagnating. And rather than moving forward with a goal in front, you feel like you will just be stuck in that place. But with the purpose, it can help you accelerate and move faster and actually achieve your goal. Now, next, we will see what is self compassion. Now, with moving forward, we also need to have self compassion. Now, what does self compassion mean? Is truly understanding and loving yourself, and not just loving yourself, but also accepting what has happened in the past and forgiving yourself for what has happened. It is not that you were lazy in the past, or maybe you made mistakes, or maybe you were feeling overwhelmed, scared, and confused, and maybe you were just tired on some days. But you have survived and you have gone past that as well. So, what we must do is forgive your past self, your past delays, and not shaming yourself for that, but rather forgive yourself for the mistakes and regrets, and also moving forward so that you can also achieve productivity. And that is being kind to yourself. And this will also help you gain encouragement rather than giving yourself punishment for the things that have already passed. Now, next is, of course, keeping in the mind that you must achieve progress rather than perfectionism. So, perfectionism, as we already know, is that everything has to go perfectly. But rather than looking at everything being perfect, let's actually see that our progress also matters much more. Rather than the fancy things that we want, let's actually focus on the consistent and imperfect action. So each small and steady step that we take, it will be a victory that will help us celebrate and achieve our goals as well. And next is emotional resilience over speed. Again, this journey is not about becoming fast or achieving our goals as fast as possible, because in this world, of course, that we live in, everything needs to be achieved as soon as possible, as fast as possible. But what we also need to remember is that we need to be resilient, even if we may be taking our time or we may be falling back. Let's always remember to get back up, to be always emotionally grounded and firm. And what helps us through is, again, it is consistency. What helps us move on from one stage to another is not speed, but it is consistency. Now, we have finally reached the end of our journey, and we have finally reached to productivity. Our train has arrived. Finally, we have reached the last session. We have learned through fear, perfectionism, burnout, and also learned to start small, but also be consistent. And that is through building momentum through your small steps that we take. The train ride was just a beginning. It is just a preview of what you can do in the future. Through these tips and techniques that we have shared, if you have found a lot of help from this, and you also feel that you would like a step forward in understanding yourself more better, Mind Mitra is always here for you. And so I hope you also understand procrastination is not just laziness or going through the emotional things alone, but it is also psychological. And to get out of the cycle itself, what can help you is small actions and making your environment and the people around you help you to beat this. And through that action that you take, let's also keep in mind that progress and consistency also matters a lot. So let's also build tiny habits that can also help you through this journey as well. And thank you so much for all of your attention. And if you have any feedback or any comments, please do mention them in the comments below. Please also mention what would be the small lever that you are pulling today to help you move your engine. So if there is something that is going to push you today to drive you through this upcoming week or whenever you are watching this video, let's keep in mind what are the things that can help you through the journey ahead. So, if you would also love to have a handout of the information that I have shared from this video as well, please do check the description box below and also check our website. It is mindmitra.in. Sorry, it has been covered. But yes, it is mindmitra.in, and also please message our WhatsApp number for more details and also connect us through social media like through Facebook and also Instagram. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you all have a wonderful day and a wonderful week ahead. Signing off. Bye.